Some 8 years ago, McLaren released the MP4-12C, its first road car since the legendary F1. And now we have this. This is the 720S Spider, and it's truly incredible to see how far McLaren has come in such a relatively short space of time. So what is the 720S? Well, the 720S occupies McLaren's Super Series, and this is the open-top version, the Spider. Now let's get the numbers out of the way from the get-go, because they're only half the story with this car. This features a 4-litre twin-turbocharged V8, producing 720 PS, hence the 720S name. It can go from 0 to 62 miles an hour in 2.9 seconds and go on to a top speed of 212 miles an hour. And it can actually do 202 miles an hour with the roof down. But those numbers aren't the impressive thing. The impressive stat is that this can go from a standstill to 124 miles an hour in just 7.9 seconds. That is incredible. Now let's delve into some of the finer details of this magnificent car. So first things first, every single crease and every single line and vent that you see on this car is fully functional. So right away, the open front lights. Now these were very, very controversial when McLaren first launched this car, but they've become iconic. And again, they're fully functional. They feed air into the radiators here to cool the brakes. And then moving around to the side, you've got the air inlets here, which just adds so much, and it's finished in carbon fibre. This car is plastered in carbon fibre. We've got every single conceivable carbon fibre package on here, and you can never have too much carbon. Around the side, that big, large air intake on the side that we used to have in the 650S is now gone for a much cleaner, sweeping look along the side. Now the big air intakes are now up here by the glass house, and I think it just makes for such a cleaner design. Round the rear, the aero just continues. Everything on here is fully functional. It's, I mean, look at that, look at that. It's one of the most incredible looking cars I've ever seen. You've got the active rear wing, which we've got up in this position, but you can have it back down. And while you're driving, it's always moving around. The rear lights are just beautiful. They sweep around this vent here, and there's more carbon in here. And even through the vents, there's more carbon. More carbon here too, and it looks exquisite. And this paint, let me just tell you about this paintwork. This is Papaya Spark. It's one of McLaren Special Operations colours. And it just looks spectacular in any light. You still get the dihedral doors, which just add so much drama to the car. However, they now need to be mounted in a different place, because in the coupe, part of the structural rigidity was in the roof. But obviously that's now gone. Now McLaren has developed its monocage, and now we have monocage 2S, which has pretty much identical rigidity, strength and lightness as the coupe, which is a feat of engineering. Another benefit of the new monocage is that the sill is now an awful lot lower, which makes it so much easier to get in and out. Your feet now just swing round really easily. For a car like this, it's so accessible. And it's also so often the case with convertible supercars that removing the roof ruins the look. Not so here. This is still easily one of the best looking supercars on the market. And while we're on the subject of the roof, it's market leading. It'll go from fully down to fully up in just 11 seconds. Now imagine you're in your supercar, it starts to rain, and then, oh, it's done. It's already done. I mean, that's just, it's crazy. And while we're on the subject of it, this has got the optional electrochromatic finish. I mean, look at it. It's gone from pretty much opaque at the press of this button, within seconds, it's transparent. I've never seen that before, and it's just such a great little detail that you wouldn't necessarily think of, but McLaren has thought of it. And when we're talking about little touches that aid the driver, this cockpit is perfect. There's lashings of Alcantara all over the doors. Every single panel is beautifully sculpted and put together. And we've got all of the interior carbon packages in here. So much carbon all over the steering wheel, the shift paddles, and the center control. The infotainment system is very, very easy to use. It's so intuitive. And then to the right of it, we've got our little fun buttons. This is the active dynamic panel. And this is where you can control the car's performance, its chassis, its suspension, its engine, everything. Everything is configurable through this little panel here. Moving down to the center, this is just such a nice piece here, floating in the air. And just everything just has such a nice tactility to it. Everything feels such high quality. And then let's just touch really quickly before we get to the fun bit on these seats. They are one of the most beautiful pieces I've ever seen in any car. But now we get to the bit that I've been looking forward to. The key is here, and you've got quite a nice little slot just down here where you can put it. Put my right foot on the brake, and then the start-stop button, and press that, the car will turn into life. So the McLaren 720S, how does it drive? Now boy, that's a question. But to put it simply, it is mesmerising. I'll get onto the performance in a minute, but firstly, you are not ready for how comfortable and usable this car is. The view around is fantastic, helped by those buttresses on the rear which are now rendered in glass, so you've got a real good view out of them. Can you believe that you can daily a 720 PS McLaren? And neither did I until I'd driven one. This thing is so easy to drive. Going down the motorway, it feels like pretty much anything else that I've ever driven. It's amazing. With the roof up, it's so quiet in here. And then with the roof down, the blustering's not bad at all. It's no worse than any other convertible I've ever been in. And just the way that it goes about daily business, okay, let's forget about the performance side of it for a second because, well, I'll show that in a minute. The usability of this car boggles the mind. It boggles the mind. Okay, so I drove this car for a few miles before I started to really make a judgment on it. And all I've been thinking about for the last half hour, I've been sat pretty much stationary, and I've been thinking, how can I portray how amazing this car is in words? And the simple answer is I can't. And what I'm going to show you now is the other side of this car. Okay, so now we're in sport mode. I've got everything set to manual. And well, your brain cannot quite compute how fast. You know what? I'm just going to show you. It's just, okay, ready? Oh my God! Every time that I put my foot down in this car, every time. So how do you sum this up then? Well, if there's anybody watching this now that wants to buy, say, a kidney, I could probably live without a liver as well. Maybe a few limbs. Because This thing has just completely changed what I thought a car could be. I can't find the words. I genuinely can't find the words to describe it. It's simply sensational in every single way. And when the world turns electric, today with this car, it's going to be the day that I remember forever. Unfortunately, my time with the spine-tingling McLaren 720S is now up. I've now got to go and give this car back, which is probably going to be the hardest thing I've ever done. If you would like some more information on the 720S Spider or any McLaren in the range, do please contact Rybrook McLaren Bristol or Birmingham. If you like this video, please drop it a like and please ensure you subscribe to Rybrook TV for plenty more content just like this to come.